Okay, welcome back. We are now going to introduce Marie Pistinier, who is the director of the Scale France show and also the director of SPLM. I don't know the exact...
President.
President.
It's an association. So
Wow.
yes, president.
Okay. Thank you, Marie. Tell us about what today means, what Scale France means.
So it means a lot. I'm a bit tired, I have to say.
And it's only day one, only morning one.
Day one. No, it means a lot because I think that's one of the biggest events of quality, number of sponsors, number of attendees in France. There is other type of events in France, but this one is very particular because we really select the property managers who are going to arrive. And obviously we are, as every time for Scale, we are selecting the content very preciously. So it's like we every millimeters are checked.
That's great. So I'm really intrigued. This is the fourth Scale France now we've had, and obviously we've seen the growth up to 600 attendees now, nearly 400 property managers. What for you makes France so unique as a country for the short-term rental market?
In general, not for Scale.
In general, yes.
So we have vacation rentals is like a cultural thing in France. It's been like many decades since we had people going in vacation, like on the seaside, on the mountain, on the city part is more recent with all the OTAs coming up and maybe facilitating the fact that we can travel more often in cities. But we have so many different type of vacation rentals and type of countryside, I would say, that we have everything for everyone. But it's really a cultural thing. Like French people love to also, it's not only having people from other countries coming up, it's also a lot of French people. We are one of the main market. We are our own customers for our own market.
I really like that about French culture. I suppose you do have the advantage on the UK of weather, I will say, down in the south and proper mountains, although I'll give you this, you can ski in Scotland, everybody. Just remember that.
Yeah.
It's probably one run in the whole country. No, I think that definitely, that's unique to the French market, isn't it? Is that you've got a very buoyant overseas market and that's propped up by an indigenous market of people travelling. As a short-term rental provider in this market, what are guests expecting standards-wise when they come to France?
I guess it's a bit like everywhere. Like people are more and more in demand of high quality, very easy check-in, very smooth stay. We talk a lot about the experience, and it's also part of the things. They want to have people. We want to have facilities, things like connected locks and very easy check-in and check-out and everything. But meanwhile, we also want to have some human people coming up, being able to answer and to provide you with advices and with services and everything. When it's French people going to France, usually it's less the case. But when we have people from other countries coming up to France, of course, they expect maybe an additional level of services, I would say.
Well, the French hospitality providers must know how to cater to Americans by now because you've been doing it for a long, long time. As a short-term rental industry specifically, do you think we are meeting the moment? Do you think we are servicing our customers as well as we could be?
We can always do better, but I think that we are at a level where in France we provide like 1 million house, apartment, villas, and everything. So 1 million properties for 66 million of inhabitants in France. So it's a lot. What is interesting is that, for example, this is a show for property managers. Property managers only manage between 25 to 35% of the market, meaning that there is a huge possibility of growing up, of getting more properties. But that means also that we have a lot of owners managing their own properties on the market. So this is really something that is maybe different from other countries where, for example, in France, owners, and probably it's different from the US. In the US, I would that owners will probably go easily on with the property manager company, and maybe not in France. We have it's maybe a more recent job. Even though I did it when I was a property manager on the vacation rental part, specifically, it was in 2005. So it's been 20 years already. So it's very recent, but not that recent.
On that, in terms of property managers, professional property managers, I mean, I've seen the growth from day one of Scale France I remember speaking to a couple of property managers who had over 100 units and they were using Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And that was just 4 years ago, to the point that today we're here and we have 40, 50 odd providers, tech providers. I mean, that's phenomenal growth, I think, in the technical side of things. How do you see that?
We had, in fact, a lot of conciergerie, which is the name of some companies who may not have some professional cards in order to do all the property management services, but who are like coming up and doing all the services like the check-in, the check-out, the cleaning, the maintenance and everything. And we had like thousands of companies who popped up, and especially after COVID, because people, in fact, first, we were the first industry to recover and to be able to welcome people in our homes after COVID, because it was like the summer 2020. I think that the vacation rental industry was, at least for France, we were the first one to open because hotels couldn't at this time. They were missing some staff. They were not prepared to be back after all those months being in confinements. So I think that we had that, and we had a lot of people coming up and openly jumping into the industry back after the COVID. And then after, yes, a lot of companies just popped up on the services side. So, and then you have the providers coming up to provide what they need to avoid Excel spreadsheets. But you have many. I know that in our database we have many companies who have over 100 properties, but there is many property managers with less than that, between 20 to 100. So, and those companies are sometimes right in the middle of the development and of the needs. We know that from 20, you should stop using an Excel spreadsheet and you should a bit automatize a bit of the things. But it's in 4 years, like many companies popped up. A lot of solo entrepreneurs also. It's also, I don't know how it is in other countries, but in France, for example, we have a lot of like conciergerie. You have a lot very, very small companies. That's why some content such as mental health, for example, we just had a session on that, is important, because at some point after 4 years, people working, because it's an industry very demanding, like you are always on the emergency. You want to have the good reviews from the guests. You want to have the owners who stay with you. You want to have your staff who stay with you as well, because sometimes it's complicated. And you are always working on emergencies, like you have a leak, you have a Wi-Fi problem and everything. So people are a bit under stress. And I'm not talking about regulation, which is the little cherry on the cake, I would say.
You mentioned regulation. We probably should talk about it very briefly. I mean, it's probably the biggest threat that we have in our industry at the moment throughout Europe, really globally. How has that been in France over the last year, 2 years?
In fact, since 10 years, we are adding layers and layers and layers of new laws, of new rules. And we just had one like a year ago, which is like new tools for, it's not anymore at the national level, it's really at the local level. And it's really complicated for the property manager that we are, because in fact, we never know from a week to another if the regulation is going to come up after us. Some little cities are just putting up a regulation just like that. Like, okay, next time we meet, we are going to talk about forbidding Airbnb, because usually they use the brand instead of using the industry itself or the owner itself. And so that means that all the property managers here are very resilient, because they love the industry, they love the hospitality, they want to be inside that, they invest in that. But from a day to another, some property manager can just lose the main business. So they work on main residence, like primary home shouldn't be an issue, but it starts to become an issue. And they just things are very complicated, like too much technical things to know in order to do correctly your business.
And you touched on it there. I'm reading that there's a lot of regional power in this, right? So a local area can choose to have the rules, a lot of freedom around how it sets up its rules. So that adds a layer of complexity, doesn't it, right? So what allows you to be compliant in Paris might be different in Marseille.
Exactly.
Is that causing problems?
Yes, that's exactly the thing. So with the SPLM, we are fighting some of the rules because some of them are just absurd. I'm giving you the best one, which is, we used to say in 10 zone, when it's complicated to find a home, a primary home can be rented 120 days. And now they said, okay, in order to get more houses, we're going to lower that cap to 90 days. But it's primary homes, so it's owners living in their own apartments or in their own house. And we say, okay, instead of renting 120, you can rent it only 90. So it's absurd. So this is one of the fight we have, because it's the same in Paris, in Marseille, in Nice. They want to, this is on a work in progress, in Villeneuve-Loubet. Many cities are setting this up because it's making some buzz, and we have some election coming up next May for the municipality. And so they are buzzing about fighting the short-term rentals, but on primary homes. So it's really ridiculous. We have many vacant homes, so they don't address the problem exactly, the exact problem they should address.
It's the same story all over the world, isn't it? The short-term rental industry, discussion around it becomes a political game. My take on the French market from just over the channel, I'm looking at you from my vantage point in Brighton, just over the channel, is that the French government, or even locally, was slow to react initially. I know Paris has had regulation for a while, but outside of Paris,
Paris, it's been, in fact, when we created the SPLM, it was in 2010.
Yeah, so Paris has for a while.
And it was before even the big platforms coming up in France. It was really, so Paris started to fight on that.
Yeah.
And then after, they just add, it's pop-up because it's a political thing. It's easy to say, okay, guys, you need a home. There is plenty of homes who are just rented by tourists. But there is a downside to that. And we are going to have a session, especially on the data that we have in the Pays Basque, on the southwest side of France, there is a terrible, it's like probably the worst regulation we have in France. And they want people to, I'm not going to go into the detail, but you have to compensate, but it's 1-for-1. It's like, so the result is that we have many properties who have we call that shutters closed. And in fact, now there is some cities who don't have any more city tax. And it's like a lot. I think that for the region, it's like something like 55 million euro who are lost since a year. It's the regulation is since 2 years. So you double it. In fact, you have many, which is same as New York. When it's like that, in other part of the region where the regulation is not there, then they have a raise. And we have an example with a supermarket. Like one of the supermarket of a city close to but where the regulation is not done. They had this year 60% of raise during the summer. It's really a summer destination. 60% raise of the business profit for only the summer. So it's ridiculous. And you see the same type of supermarket in the area. Next year, they used to have 60 people working only during the summer. We call that the saisonnier. Next year, they will not take maybe 10. So employments, local taxes, and also the renovation of the houses, because this is we talk about energetic performance and everything. This is part of the thing. Everything is going to be, if there is no money coming up, if we don't use the money coming up from tourists who are also paying for, I don't know, a city tour, for wine tasting, or parachutes or stuff like that. That's really the whole economy is taking a step down.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you might look at it and go, well, look, devolved decisions in regions would lead to better decision making. But when I hear you talk like that, it shows how nonsensical it can be, whether it's being made in a local mayor's office or a central government office. I think that the problem as well is it's so open to corruption, right? If you have different people locally who are prominent in certain industries, it can completely dictate the way legislation works at a local level. So to hear that in towns that have holiday rental, second home ownership, and they can't utilize that is baffling. Absolutely baffling, right?
No, it's absurd. We don't know. And so about politics, it's very easy to talk about, for a politician, it's very easy to target this topic. But that, you don't address the other topics that are really relevant, which are vacant home, why people prefer to have vacant space instead of putting them on the market. There is also all the social constructions. In fact, when you check people who need a home in the 10th zone, usually most of the people are in need of social homes. Homes with low rent and probably more things that we can have at the national level for people who don't have the means in order to access to home. So they don't. The main issue is that they don't speak to each other and they don't speak to us as an industry. But we represent homes. We represent employment. I think. We had a study. It's done employments, jobs, just for the industry, direct and indirect. And those managed by professional is 41,000 jobs. So it's a lot. So it's at some point they have to talk. And we cannot just, and I know that hotels are a lot behind the regulation because they feel that we are just taking the market, but the market is there. People are still like people were. I usually sounds like an old lady when I say that, but when I was a kid, my parents we have like this kind of catalog where we could choose the holiday rentals, and we used to do that. So it's not like vacation rentals are not popping up like that because we have big platforms helping us to put them online. It's just, it was there before. It's a cultural thing. And at the European level as well. I know that Germany, Sweden, Denmark, it's countries where they used to go on a vacation most of the time it was more on the seaside, but it's like it's really a cultural thing.
We've spoken a lot about the threats and the issues that there are in France. Give us a positive perspective then on the outlook in France over the next couple of years. Is the future bright?
I cannot say exactly, but I think at least for property manager, if you hear the rooms, it's buzzing. Like people are just so excited. They really are really digging into that. People love vacation rentals, and the property managers are just so. That's what I like about Scales and about doing this show. Is like when people get reunited all together, you feel that they have so much ideas. You have new products all the time, and you have for the Scale Friends, we have a lot of French companies as sponsors. We have all the internationals, but also a lot of French companies, and they have so much ideas. So much on the tech side. It's also a good strength. So this is a good thing. And I'm pretty confident that some of the cap for the primary homes, for now, pretty confident that at some point we have few them on different cities. At some point it will go down. But you cannot say I'm going to take away some days. I mean, it doesn't bring anything to the owners on the housing crisis issue. And there is a housing crisis issue. Like we shouldn't hide behind our fingers. That's what we say in France. So there is a real crisis, but at least we should talk.
We'll save that for the next interview.
Yeah.
Marie, thanks so much. And we're very conscious that you've got 600 people to host here, and we've taken you away for quite a long time. So thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brilliant.